Continuing on with the prominent theme of Luciel, it's time to take a look at their second job class, Chiliarch. And no, as many of you pointed out, it's not pronounced Chiliarch, it's Chiliarch. Subtle, isn't it? This class is basically Lu throwing a tantrum. It's a Lu-focused class, so Ciel gets no new combos and no really fun stuff. But in the opposite vein of Royal Guard, Lu receives 3 new combos and a brand new look. So what's the tantrum, you ask? Well, you see, Lu suddenly magically remembers her ability to kick ass and take names as a demon legionnaire. So she amps it up and realizes her, and I quote, power to control terror. So there you have it. A lolly's little tantrum evolves into a job class. How cute. Sarcastic cuteness aside, it's now time to dive into Luciel's second first job, the Lu-based Chiliarch class. Just like Royal Guards, this job quest is ridiculously easy. Of the 8 quests required for the Demon Power and Chiliarch quests, 1 is a field quest and the remaining 7 are single dungeon runs with little to no random chance involved. It's a pretty sweet deal compared to some other characters. Alright, I'll keep the criticism brief. This costume does not worsen Lu's sexualization, but it definitely shows it. Her chest is nearly visible and her, shorts are a little too short. But, on the bright side, I really do like this design. The hoodie is really cool and the wacky crazy hair goes with the intense flashy colors. It all comes together in a package which is absolutely unmistakable. When you see this outfit, you'll know it's a Lu. Demon Javelin. This is a neat move which drops a javelin from the sky onto an opponent. After it makes contact, you'll notice that it comes in one of 3 colors, red, green, or blue. A red javelin damages nearby enemies, a green javelin buffs nearby players, and a blue javelin recovers nearby players' MP. Shoulder Ram. This move takes 2 different forms. The first lets Lu dash forward after hitting the Z button and ram forward into groups of mobs, like Fury Guardian's Charge. The other option is executed with the X button and allows Lu to ram mobs backwards instead. Air Dash. This move unfortunately does no damage, but increases Lu's mobility considerably. Lu is able to propel her way forward mid-air and then upward or downward as she pleases with extreme agility. Demon Javelin I find is actually quite weak, but the buffs it gives are decent enough considering it's just a combo and not a skill. It takes a bit of getting used to though, and it often doesn't proc the type of javelin that you want. Shoulder Ram is very useful and is highly effective at manipulating mobs in both directions, making it well worth your usual combo. Lastly, though Air Dash does no damage, it's really useful. Using Air Dash in places like Erida Island or the Burning Bridges of Velder is an extremely handy tactic. All in all, while I might not say that these combos are fitting of Lu, they're definitely beneficial to her character. Creeping Terror passive. This passive gives a really neat buff that increases the damage of special actives when hitting the back of enemies. It also lets you apply Creeping Terror when you hit enemies, which is part of Chiliarch's system that I'll explain later. Call to Arms passive. Royal Guard has this passive as well. It decreases the knockdown rate of combos and lets Lu perform a get-up without knocking others down. Communication Amplification passive. This is a pretty simple passive that increases Luciel's maximum MP. Like Royal Guard's communication passive, it also increases the damage of combination gauge skills. Level 25 special active, Dead Hands, which costs 100 MP. This move does a small bit of burst damage in a tiny area of effect, but is then followed by buffing Lu's physical damage as well as augmenting her Creeping Terror system temporarily by increasing the number of terror stacks per hit. This is also a chain skill, meaning that whichever level 30 skill you pick, you can activate that by pressing the same skill key again at the end of this skill. Level 30 special active, Dark Crescent or Ruinous Impact, both for 200 MP. Dark Crescent is oddly a seal skill, which makes him flip and cause 3 slashes with his gunblades. It can also be cast mid-air. Ruinous Impact lives up to its name and causes a huge area of impact in front of Chiliarch, not only dealing egregious amounts of damage, but also sending survivors flying. Level 35 active, Terror Chain or Ambush Attack, both for 30 MP. Terror Chain performs a mediocre hit on an enemy, but then uses Chiliarch's terror system to chain the attack through multiple enemies. Ambush is a reasonably impressive strike, but it's greatly augmented if you hit the opponent from behind. Not only do you get a damage increase, but you're also able to fully ignore damage reduction and defense stats as well as guard. Level 35 special active Power of Auriax for 100 MP. While it does not augment damage, it essentially makes you a tank. invulnerable to most types of damage while super armored, as well as increasing potency of actives and MP regen while attacking at the cost of your ability to run. Level 40 special active Apollyon, or Oblivion, both of which are combination gauge skills. Apollyon literally brings out the beast within and summons a demon which slams the ground, causing great damage over a small area. If there are enemies afflicted with terror, the summoned demon becomes even larger. Oblivion is a standard looking but very powerful move that summons a demon before you and creates a good bit of burst damage. It also has the nice effect of causing a helpless debuff and instant death to enemies below a certain HP threshold. To me, certain skills in this set are just not worth getting. Terror Chain I find is very hard to set up and the payoff is minimal. Considering the alternative Ambush is not even locked, I would go for that in an instant. Dark Crescent also, while being very powerful, is not nearly as good as Ruinous Impact. That said, Ruinous Impact is locked, and Dark Crescent may also help you charge your combination gauge, so keep that in mind. I also found little use for Dead Hands, but it can chain into other skills, so it's not a total waste of a slot. Other than that, it's really up to your preference. I don't find Power of Auriax that useful, but I imagine it has great utility in PvP. I also prefer Apollyon over Oblivion, but really, both are incredibly effective and have neat gimmicks to make them even stronger. Whenever possible through a Gnosis Blessing or a skill reset, I'd recommend trying out both skills before you decide on which one you'll keep. And like with Royal Guard, get every passive you can. Call to Arms is essential for reducing knockdown in PvP, and Creeping Terror is what gives Chiliarch her system, which I'll talk about next. I love Chiliarch's playstyle, no hiding that fact. Even though it's not as fast or as range-based as I would typically play, I find her mobility is excellent and her skills are not too slow, still allowing you to chain combos and skills together effectively. This class is also less versatile than Royal Guard, so it's less adaptive to multiple scenarios, but that's far from making it ineffective. Like Royal Guard's Soul system, I found Chiliarch's Terror system incredibly unnecessary. That said, I feel like it is at least better utilized, allowing many skills like Terror Chain and Apollyon to change how they work based on how well you're able to spread the Creeping Terror debuff. I haven't really had a chance to see how this class works in PvP, but at the very least I can see the utility of skills like Power of Auriax and combos like Shoulder Ram to devastate your opponents. And, like with Royal Guard, I find that Chiliarch is quite overpowered compared to many other classes, particularly older ones like Elboy's and Reyna's various first jobs. Still, it's a really fun job to play in, and honestly, I think the biggest downside of this job change is having to actually decide between the skills, since generally, they're all pretty good. After playing both Royal Guard and Chiliarch, I will say I find the idea of job advancement in the Luciel character odd. Only getting new combos on one character is kind of weird. I mean, it's a good idea for fairness and balanced advancement, but it's still weird to know that, in this case, Seal makes no advancement while Lu gets the spotlight, and vice versa for Royal Guard. But the skills and combos added are excellent, and the certain knowledge that the neglected character will also get their chance to shine in the second job advancement is a great comfort. This class will greatly improve once Dreadlord is released, and Seal's new skills are added into the mix. Overall, while it might take some getting used to, the Chiliarch class has a neat implementation and some pretty fun Lu combos for those who like her style. Geez, these releases have been coming fast. In the last 2 major updates, we've had 3 brand new character classes to play with. At this rate, Dreadlord and Noblesse should be right around the corner. But in the meantime, if you want to check out some other editorials or Let's Plays, you can do so by clicking on them. Until next time, guys, I'll see you later.